That's something I actually said, huh? Don't put this in what I'm doing right now. Don't do it now, you guys. Woo! Okay, let's see what we got here. The Dude Abides. That's an easy one. That's the Big Lebowski.
The Dude Abides.
There was a guy the Coen brothers wrote about, based on the script, on a guy named Jeff Dowd, who called himself the Dude. I think he was known as the Dude. And there's a lot of the dude in me, so I use myself for the character quite a bit. Dowd is a cool guy. He came by the set and hung out a bit, so we got to know each other. I've been asked to perform a marriage. I've got to get my dude license. I'm not formally a dudist, but in spirit I certainly am. Okay. Trying to rid the world of weapons, you gave it the best one, and I'm going to destroy you with it. Iron Man. Oh.
Trying to rid the world of weapons, you gave it its best one ever.
Well, they had Robert Downey Jr. and Jon Favreau, those two guys. Oh, see, I'm biased because I'm in the thing, but that's my favorite superhero movie. I think gosh, that was a good one. Jon Favreau, man, what a great artist. We read the script, and the script wasn't working, and we said, Downey and Favreau, we would meet in a trailer, we'd work it out. We rehearsed for a long time. We were ready to go, and we showed what we come up with to the suits, to the producers, the financiers said, "Oh no, this you can't go." He said, "What do you mean? What do we do?" And so we had to write our scenes just before we filmed them. All the crew would be in the soundstage waiting for us. We'd be in the trailer trying to come up with the dialogue for scenes and stuff and pass it inspection oh God, it was crazy. It drove me just out of my mind until I finally made this little inner adjustment that really helped me. And I said, "Jeff, don't worry about it. You're making a $200 million student film. You're just playing, you're just messing around." Like, "Oh, all right, relax, just have fun. Look at the guys you get to play with." Oh, we had a ball. Let's see here. Where would King Arthur be without Guinevere? That's something I actually said, huh? I think I'm going to say the Fisher King. Is that right? Ooh, yeah.
Where would King Arthur be without Guinevere, huh?
What a great time that was. Terry Gilliam, the great producer, he really assembled an amazing cast. Robin, he was amazing. I can remember we'd be working late nights. We'd all be exhausted. And Robin would get this kind of devilish look on his face, and he would stand up and he would start busting everybody's chops, just go around like this for about 10 minutes. And most directors would say, "Okay, Robin, let's get back to work." But Terry would egg him on and say, "Yeah, but what about him? Look at this guy with the glasses, And so Robin was just so brilliant to work with. I could go on and on about Robin. Let's see. Fill your hand, you son of a bitch. That is from True Grit, right? Yeah, that was a fun one.
Fill your hand, you son of a bitch!
Remember the Coen brothers, we had a fake horse and all that to do put the rings in your teeth and shoot with a double gun. I don't know if it was Joel or Ethan. He came up to me and he said, "Do you think you could do it for real?" I said, "Yeah, man, let's try it." And I got the, that was great fun. I remember when the brothers called me up and said, "Hey, we want to make this remake of True Grit." I said, "What do you want?" "Why, man? John Wayne had this famous movie." And they said, "Well, have you read the Charles Portis book?" True Grit, and I hadn't, and I read it, and then I saw why, because it read just like a Coen Brothers script. Wonderful story, and they did a brilliant job. I gave you a baby tonight. Starman, right, yeah.
I gave you a baby tonight.
Karen Allen, very special time in my life making that movie, Starman. I take photographs when I'm making movies, and it all started with Karen Allen, who said, gee, I love these photographs that you're taking with this funny wide-angle panning camera that you use. Why don't we make a book and give it as a gift to the cast and crew? So that started a long, history of me doing that, and I've made, I think, maybe 30 or so books. The camera that I use, the Widelux, that factory got burned down about 30 years ago, but my wife, Sue, who gave me a Widelux for our wedding anniversary 49 years ago, we are bringing that camera back to life. We're calling it the Widelux X. I think the last book I made was from Bad Times at the El Royale. Okay, let's see. Greetings programs. Tron.
Greetings programs!
Tron, 1982. Now, we shot that movie in 70 millimeter black and white. The sets were basically black duvetine with white adhesive tape that they made glow. So the special effects were, very primitive. All our costumes were black and white. The sets were all black and white. And I can remember going out of the soundstage and the colors of life would just, boom, hit you like a ton of bricks. But there was very little special effects in those days. I mean, all practical. I want to talk about how bad you make this room look. I never knew what a dump it was until you came in here. Crazy hard. I want to talk about how bad you make this room look. Never noticed what a dump it was until you came in here. And I said that to the fabulous Maggie Gyllenhaal. Such a wonderful actor. And her movies now, she's directing now. I don't know if you've seen The Bride, but it was just an incredible movie. And then you got Scott Cooper. That was his first movie, man. He directed that movie so brilliantly, and Bobby Duvall was the producer and so supportive of this young director who also wrote the film. And it's great to go out now and see his other movies that are so wonderful. Let's see. You'll never be done with it no matter what. It's gonna haunt you, son, for the rest of your days. But you won't be alone. It's gonna haunt me too. Yeah. That is, I know they changed the title at the last moment of it, but it's gonna hell or high water, right? Yay! You'll never be done with it no matter what. It's gonna haunt you, son, for the rest of your days. Another wonderful, wonderful experience. I love making that movie. Just how real it seemed. Joaquin Jackson was a real famous Texas Ranger who was on the set every day and really helped me so much. That one was so great. David McKenzie, our director, brought together this amazing cast. Chris Pine, what's his name? I'm forgetting that. What's his name? Foster? Ben. And what's the other guy? And Gil, yeah. This is like a bad dream. I can't remember these guys' names. I'm going to try another take two. Say, oh, yeah, heavens. Oh, well, no, I'm forgetting the movie. Don't put this in what I'm doing right now. Don't do it now, you guys. Gil Birmingham, Chris Pine, Ben Foster, and David McKenzie. Okay. David McKenzie, our director, brought together this phenomenal cast. You got Chris Pine, Ben Foster playing such wonderful brothers, and Gil Birmingham, who was my partner. Wow. It was so great to play with these guys. Had a great time on that one. If this scene is terrible, you will never work in this town again. And I said this, if this scene is terrible, oh, Minions and Monsters. Yeah, all right. Go see Minions and Monsters. It's a wonderful film. Woo!
If this scene is terrible, you will never work in this town again.
Looking at those drawings of Frank and Elwood, that gave me a big tip. And then also just the lines, you're reading the lines that they wrote, and then being there with Pierre Coffin, the creator of this, throwing out a bunch of different ways of doing it, and we kind of narrowed it down. I had a ball doing it. I did, one guy first, I think maybe the grumpy guy first, and then did the more joyous light cat, later. They look exactly the same except have different mustache treatments, I like that. I wasn't privy to the Despicable Me and all these other great films. Since then, I have seen some of them and got myself a bit up to speed. I love it that Minions and Monsters really is a whole new batch of Minions and a completely different direction. James and Henry and Ed, they break away from the Minions, who are, all about assisting the most evil person that they can find, and they've fallen in love with making movies, which I can totally relate to. And so the essence of the movie for me is how love conquers evil, Okay. Yeah, I'll see you in a year or two if I don't get shot. The Last Picture Show, right?
I'll see you in a year or two if I don't get shot.
Peter Bogdanovich, man, wow. Timmy Bottoms, Ellen Burstyn, yeah. I originally got into acting through my dad, Lloyd Bridges. Unlike a lot of parents who are in showbiz, who say, they tell their kids, you don't want to get into this. It's too heartbreaking and it's too crazy. Both my parents loved showbiz. And I can remember back in the late 50s, early 60s, my dad had a TV show called Sea Hunt. And he would come up to me, I'd be about 8 years old or so, and he'd say, hey, you want to come to work with Dad? Come on. I said, well, he said, you get to get out of school, man. Come on, we'll have a lot of fun. And so he really enticed me that way, and I loved working with my dad. I got to work with him twice in a movie called Blown Away and another one called Tucker that Francis Coppola directed, and we had a great time pretending with each other, But the main thing I learned from him, he approached the work with such joy and excitement whenever he would come onto a sound stage. And when I got to work with him as an adult, it was very apparent. His excitement and his sense of fun that he had was kind of contagious, and it would go through the company, and people would say, yeah, I guess this is kind of fun what we're doing. When you have that sense of fun and joy, you relax, and with that relaxation lets the good stuff bubble up, more effortlessly.